Today's video, you can stop, pause, or replay anything that you need remediation on. Please feel free as a group to decide when it is appropriate to pause the video to write something down in your notes. These videos are also available on YouTube at Mrs. McCowan 12. That's Mrs. McCowan 12, no spaces, on YouTube. Let's start off with inverse variation. Question number 1. Inverse variation is the relationship between two variables. It can be written as y equals k divided by x, or it can be written as x times y equals k. In both these situations, x can never equal 0. If this equaled 0 in the first equation, then this would be undefined. As we can never divide by 0, that would be undefined. So 0 can never equal x. Number 2, looking at the table, we want to tell whether the relationship is inverse, direct, or neither. So I want you to copy this table into your notes. We have an x and a y. My x is 2, 3, 4. My y is 12, 8, 6. Now, using the previous mentioned formula, we're going to see if it is inverse, direct, or neither. So let's take a look at this. The easiest way to see if it has inverse variation is to use the formula x times y. If this equals the constant in each one of these scenarios, then it is inverse variation. So the first one we have 2 times 12 is 24. 3 times 8 is 24. 4 times 6 is 24. Wow! 24, 24, 24. If all the numbers are the same, then it is inverse variation. So you'll write that down as your answer. And then tell me what the constant is. The constant, k, equals 24. Question number 3. You're going to tell whether each relationship is inverse variation or direct variation. So copy the chart. X, y, 5, 80, 7, 75, 9, 70. Now, again, the easiest way to do this is to multiply. So I'm going to multiply my numbers. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 80, which is 400. I'm going to multiply 7 times 75, which is 525. Multiply 9 times 70, which is 630. Uh-oh, none of these numbers match. So it's not inverse variation. So we can write down that it's not inverse variation. And let's see if it's direct variation. So for direct variation, what we're going to do is take the y and divide it by x. So let's look at y divided by x. And if we look at that, y divided by x is 16. And then we do 75 divided by 7, which is 10 and 5/7. And then we do 70 divided by 9, which is 7 and 7/9. Well, it's not direct variation either. So it's neither. It's not direct and it's not inverse. Number 4, inverse variation traits. Well, we said that x times y cannot equal 0, x cannot equal 0, y cannot equal 0, and last but not least, they cannot touch the axis. That's the x or the y. Your graph will look something like this, with the lines either going out, away from the graph, not touching the graph, away from 0, not touching any of the zeros. It can look like any of these. It will not touch the x or the y axis. This is a no-no to touch the y or the x. Okay, this is number 5. Now I have two graphs and I need to determine whether it is inverse, direct, or neither. So let's look at the first graph. I'm going to call this graph A and the second one graph B. On graph A, we have a strange looking line and we need to determine whether it is inverse or direct. So I'm going to take a wild guess, and since looking at number 4, I'm going to say this is probably inverse. So I'm going to check my work by plugging in my points. So the first point I have here is 2, 6. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 6, and that gives me 12. This would be my constant. I'm going to double check that by checking another point on my line. And this point is 3, 4. 3 times 4 is 12. That confirms that the last one also, which is 4 times 3 is 12, so that this is inverse variation. My constants are the same when I multiply x times y. My k, the constant, is 12. Now looking at the second one, I have 0, 0. Uh-oh. Well, that right off the bat tells me that this is probably direct. But I want to double check my work. So I'm going to look at 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 2. So when I divide y divided by x, I should get k. Well, 0 divided by 0 is 0. 1 divided by 1 is 1. But remember, we're going to toss out the 0, 0 because that doesn't matter. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. Obviously, the constant rate is 1, so k equals 1. The reason why I'm not including 0, 0 is because even if I were to continue this graph, the 0, 0 is not going to make a difference. We already know that to be direct variation, it must go through 0, 0. Please feel free to rewind this video and watch it again. This will ensure that you are able to tell the difference between direct and inverse variation.